Everything in Python is an object. Your numbers, your text, your lists, even the functions you write. If that sounds strange, stick around, because once this clicks, the way you write code will never be the same. Hey, and welcome back. In this video, we are breaking down one of the most important concepts in Python programming: objects. By the end of this video, you will understand what objects actually are, how they relate to classes, how to create your own, how attributes and methods work, and why this whole approach to programming makes your code cleaner, smarter, and way easier to manage. Let us get into it. Section 1. What is an object? Let me paint a picture. Imagine you are describing a dog to someone who has never seen one. You might say, it has 4 legs, a name, a breed, and it can bark, fetch, and sit. You just described an object. It has properties that describe it, and behaviors it can perform. In Python, an object works exactly the same way. An object is a bundle of data and functionality packaged together. The data, things like a name or a breed, are called attributes. The functionality, things like bark or fetch, are called methods. That is really all an object is: data plus behavior, wrapped up in one neat package. Now here is the wild part. You have already been using objects this whole time without realizing it. When you create a string in Python, like the word hello, that string is an object. It has attributes, and it has methods like .upper or .lower that you can call on it. When you create a list, that list is an object too. Python is built on objects from the ground up. So if objects are everywhere in Python, where do they come from? That question leads us straight into the next section. Section 2. Classes are the blueprints. Think about a house. Before a house is built, an architect draws a blueprint. That blueprint describes what every house of that type will look like: how many rooms, where the windows go, how tall the walls are. The blueprint itself is not a house, but you can use it to build as many houses as you want, and each one will follow the same design. In Python, a class is that blueprint. A class defines what an object will look like and what it can do. Then when you actually create one of those objects in your program, that is called an instance. The class is the plan, the object is the real thing. Here is how you define a simple class in Python. You use the keyword class, followed by the name of your class, followed by a colon. By convention, class names start with a capital letter. So you might write class dog, and then inside that class you define everything a dog object should have. One class can create hundreds or thousands of individual objects, each one separate from the others. You could have a dog named Max, a dog named Bella, and a dog named Rex, all created from the same dog class, but each with their own name, their own breed, their own data. That flexibility is incredibly powerful, and it is one of the big reasons Python developers love using classes. But how does each object get its own unique data when it is created? That brings us to something called the init method. Section 3. The gnit method and self. When you create a new object from a class, Python automatically calls a special method called init. You write it with double underscores on both sides. Underscore underscore init underscore underscore. This method is the constructor. Its job is to set up the object with its initial data the moment it is created. Inside the init method, you will always see a parameter called self. Self is just a reference to the object itself. When Python runs the init method for a specific object, self points to that particular instance, so Python knows where to store all the data. Every method inside a class takes self as its first parameter for the same reason. So if you were building a dog class, your init method might accept a name and a breed as arguments. Inside init, you would write self.name equals name and self.breed equals breed. Now, whenever you create a new dog object and pass in a name and breed, that specific dog remembers its own name and breed separately from every other dog object. Creating an object from a class is called instantiation. You just write the class name and pass in the arguments like you would call a function. Python handles the rest. The result is a brand new object with its own memory, its own data ready to use. Now that our objects have data, let us talk about how they actually do things. Section 4. Attributes and methods. Attributes are the variables that belong to an object. They store the object's data. In our dog example, name and breed are attributes. You access them using dot notation. Write the object name, then a dot. then the attribute name. So if you have an object called myDog, you can grab its name by writing mydog.name. Methods are functions that belong to a class. They define what an object can do. You define them just like regular functions, but inside the class, and they always take self as the first parameter. So you might define a method called bark that prints a message like woof. When you call it on a specific dog object, Python automatically passes that object in as self, so the method knows which dog is barking. This is what makes objects so satisfying to work with. Instead of writing a bunch of separate functions that you have to manually connect to your data, you bundle the functions and the data together. The object knows what it is and what it can do. Your code becomes more organized, easier to read, and much simpler to debug. And once you start creating objects that interact with each other, that is when programming really starts to feel like building something real. Which leads us to our final section. Section 5. Why object-oriented programming matters. The style of programming built around classes and objects has a name, Object-Oriented Programming, or OOP. Python fully supports it, and for good reason. Real-world problems are full of things. Users, products, orders, buttons, files, and objects let you model those things directly in your code. Instead of thinking in terms of raw data and disconnected logic, you think in terms of things and what they do. A user object has a username, an email, and can log in. An order object has items, a total, and can be shipped. Your code starts to mirror the actual problem you are solving, which makes it easier to plan, easier to explain, and easier to extend later. OOP also makes collaboration easier. When you share a well-defined class with another developer, they know exactly what it does and how to use it without reading your entire codebase. That kind of clarity saves real time on real projects. And this is just the beginning. Once you are comfortable with objects, you can explore inheritance, where one class can borrow from another, and polymorphism, and so much more. Objects are the foundation of all of it. Alright, quick recap. Objects are bundles of data and behavior. Classes are the blueprints for creating objects. The init method sets up each object when it is created. Attributes store data. Methods define behavior. And object-oriented programming helps you model real problems in a way that is clean, flexible, and scalable. If this video helped you, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Subscribe so you do not miss the next video where we go deeper into inheritance and how classes can build on each other. And drop a comment below with one thing that finally clicked for you today, or ask a question and I will answer it. See you in the next one.